There are no additions.
No additions. Very good. Council, would you mind?
Not at all, Chairman, members of the board, good morning. Your closed session agenda today starts with conference with your labor negotiators under Government Code Section 54957.6. Your agency designated representatives are Director Shanika Dixon, Assistant CAO Joel Begay, your Human Resources Manager Susan Carter, and your Human Resources Manager, Sabrina Mendez. The employee organization is all units, including unrepresented employees, but not elected officials. You have a liability claim under Government Code Section 54956.95. The claimant is Shanna Robbins, and the agency claimed against is the County of Madera. There are four existing litigation matters under Government Code Section 54956.9, subsection D1. The names of the cases are Valley Groundwater Coalition versus the County of Madera. That's the Madera Superior Court case, MCV 087677. The other is Elizabeth Cardozo with the list of other plaintiffs versus the County of Madera Groundwater Sustainability Agency, also Madera County Superior Court case, MCV 086218. The case of Anita Ross versus the County of Madera, MCV 072774. And the last is Miami Creek Coalition versus the County of Madera, MCV 088338. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. Are there any members of the public that have a comment regarding our closed session items? Seeing and hearing none, we will move into closed session. Out of.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. There is one reportable action from your closed session, and that's on item 2F, the Miami Creek Coalition versus County of Madera existing litigation matter. On a motion by Supervisor Rogers, seconded by Supervisor Wamhoff, there was a vote 5-0 unanimous approval of an agreement for defense and indemnification between the county and Yosemite Base Camp LLC doing business as Sierra Meadows. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. At this time, we'll open and close the meeting in memory of individuals that have left us. Are there any individuals a colleague of mine like to remember at this time? Seeing and hearing none, we will move into the invocation and pledge of allegiance. We have Pastor Josh Blair from the Central Valley Church here in Madera. And I'm also going to ask for the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm going to ask former Supervisor Tom Wheeler to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Would everybody stand?
Thank you for having me. Not only am I here to represent Central Valley Church, but the Madera Ministerial Association. And I just want to let our board know that we pray for you weekly, not only for wisdom and discernment as you govern over our county, but also pray for your families and that you grow in the wisdom and the knowledge of Christ in your life as well. Let's bow our heads and pray together. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to come together, Lord. We ask God over this meeting and over our board, Lord, that you continue to grow them in wisdom as they enact ordinances and rules over our county, as they determine policy, Lord, and supervise and provide leadership over county departments, over budgets and salaries. Lord, we pray that you would guide them and lead them, direct them as you bless them and bless our county, Lord, that we would be a beacon of hope and light, not only in our community and across the valley, but to our state. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Everybody put their hand over their heart. You can service people and you can salute. Ready? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to public comment. As a reminder, the first 15 minutes of each regular session are set aside for members of the public to address the board on any matter under the jurisdiction of the board, but not appearing on the agenda. The board will not take action on any items presented under public comment. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Anyone addressing the board is asked to print their name clearly on the speaker sheet at the podium and state their name and county of residence for the record. Are there any members of the public that have a comment at this time? All right. Got people rushing the microphone.
I apologize. Good morning. My name is Vanessa Self. I am a supervisor with Madera County Department of Social Services in the adoption unit. And I am here with my adoption team, and we are here to formally invite you to our 2024 adoption celebration that we have coming up on November 8th at our DSS admin building at 8:30. And each year we like to invite you guys and to celebrate all the adoptions that we've done for the year. And we will also be finalizing some adoptions on that day. So we're really excited. Every year we have a theme that we do. Last year was superhero, which is extremely fun, but this year will be harvest. So we really want to celebrate togetherness, family, thankfulness, and it will be a fun celebration with activities, food, photo booths, and of course, finalizing adoptions for some of our kiddos. And so we hope you can join us. And then also we'll be back on November 12th for our yearly adoption proclamation. Thank
Very
you.
good. Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Thank you.
All right. What's that time again?
It's at 8:30. Yeah.
8:30.
And I do have invites. I don't know if I can leave these here for
Okay,
you as well.
maybe invites or email them or something.
Okay,
very
perfect.
good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Much appreciated. All right. Are there any other comments from the public?
Hola a todos, muy buenos días. Disculpen que no me voy a poder expresar en español, espero la ayuda de alguien aquí para que me pueda resumir lo que hoy vengo a decir. Muchas gracias. Mi nombre es Rosa Hernández. Soy residente de aquí de Madera, California, y vengo a hacerles una cordial invitación por parte del grupo de mujeres del proyecto Nuyavi. Todas somos un grupo de mujeres que buscamos pues ah, salir a resaltar, rescatar nuestras tradiciones culinarias y pues vamos a tener un evento el día 1 de noviembre en el Parque de la Corte a partir de las 12 del mediodía hasta las 8:30 de la noche. Estaremos celebrando también el Día de Muertos ah, de acuerdo a nuestras tradiciones ancestrales. Tendremos una venta de comida hecho por el grupo de mujeres y una ofrenda para que nuestras nuevas generaciones puedan aprender algo de nuestra cultura ancestral. Esperamos a todos que nos puedan acompañar el día 1 de noviembre. Estaremos muy felices de tenerlos con nosotros. Muchas gracias.
I will translate for Rosa. Gracias, Rosa. This is Rosa Hernandez who's joining us today. She's a Madera resident, and she is inviting us with her group of women with the project Nuyavi, and that is food and cultural celebration that brings them together. She said that they will be celebrating the Day of the Dead on November 1st over at Courthouse Park from 12 to 8:30. And again, they'll be bringing in food and an ofrenda. I don't know how to say that in English, but it's basically, come on. Oh, an altar. Thank you. And so again, that'll be at the park, and she hopes to see many of us there.
Y tendremos también un espacio para los niños, actividades para todos ellos y también vamos a tener música de banda tradicional en vivo. Pues será toda una gran celebración que queremos compartir con todos los aquí presentes y esperamos también que nos ayuden a correr la voz y será el 1 de noviembre. Gracias.
Gracias. She also said that there will be activities for the children and they will have music as well. And so again, everyone who's here is invited to attend. Gracias, Rosa.
Gracias.
Thank you. Very good. Is there any other public comment? If not, anybody online?
None online.
Okay, very good. We will move on to the consent calendar. Are there any items on the consent calendar that a colleague of mine that would like to have pulled for further discussion or elaboration? I know I'd like to talk about 5N. Yes, Supervisor.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to pull 5H.
5H. Okay.
Chair, I know that this is a question for the supervisors. However, I would like to make a comment of an edit that's needed on 5F as in Frank. On provision 8, the notice name should be changed to Art Galindo versus Connie Moreno Peraza.
Okay.
It's 5F.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair, I'm
Chairman.
looking at items I and
5I, 5L. Okay. Any other items? Yes.
Chairman, I'd like to make a correction on 5N. I know that you want to bring that up, but 5N should have undisclosed to us rock solid acquired prime gov in March of 2022.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Supervisor, we'll go with 5H.
So just it's the board calendar. There's some inconsistencies with the board rules, and so to be mindful of that and to follow the rules, I'd like to pull it and either change the board rules or change the calendar, but there's some inconsistencies. So I'd like the item to be pulled all
Okay.
together.
We'll pull 5H. Very good.
Chair, if I may, just
Yes.
in regards to that item as well, I did have an opportunity to speak with our clerk earlier this morning. But if we're going to go ahead and revise those board rules, I would recommend that we revise chairman to be chairperson, especially being that we may have a chairwoman coming to join us.
Okay, very good. That'll be pulled for further discussion and wordsmithing and so forth. Okay? Yes. Okay.
We'll endeavor to bring that back in November.
Okay. Very good. Next, I.
Yeah, just had some questions on the schedule or perhaps a request on the schedule for the fee study. First off, I do appreciate that we're using a consultant firm that's already done some work in the area up in Mariposa. But when I looked at their schedule, they had their fee comparison and their public meetings towards the back end of their work. And I just wonder if it might be beneficial for the process to hold maybe a public meeting to kick things off and maybe have some fee comparisons available for the public at that time, just so they can understand where we're at. And then, additionally, that may help drive the conversation around our fee comparison or our analysis. So I just thought that might be helpful. So I don't know if you have any comments or response.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Jamie Bax with Community and Economic Development. We can absolutely work with the consultant team to work on the timeline and to work on different tasks and realign those to involve the community and provide that information.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
Very good. And 5L.
And looking at the funding for 5L, I did notice that we have the Sheriff's Foundation is funding part of that. And I just wanted to double check, is that funding coming in from the Fire Auxiliary being channeled through the foundation, or can you explain to me how that works? Because I know we had some funding from the auxiliary.
The North Fork Fire Auxiliary does not donate any money through the Sheriff's Foundation. It would be separate.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Oh, very
Thank you.
good. Thank you. And on item 5N, I'd just like to make a few comments on that in regards to the process. This is all about approving an extension of our contract for information technology regarding our agendas and so forth, working with Granicus. And we are going out for a bid for a new software provider, providing templates, workflows, et cetera, et cetera. As we can see in the discussion in the agenda item submittal, there, as everybody who works for the county understands, things didn't work out as well as hoped with our agenda program, the management and so forth. So what we'd like to do is to really endeavor to make sure things happen in a way that are as smooth as possible. We have a end of support for our minute track on 9/30/25. And so what I'd like to do is whoever we go with our new company, I'd like to have, really stay on top of this and ensure that we're ready to go by 9/30/25. And I'd like to call for bi-monthly presentations in terms of where we are with the process. Perhaps by a month from now, at our next meeting, we'll know who the new company is. Maybe not. Maybe it's not till December. But then every other month, I'd like to have a presentation, perhaps by staff, by the provider, by both, on where we are, how we're progressing, so that by 9/30/25, we're up and running and we can, run things smoothly. I'm not going to get too much into the weeds today in terms of some of the issues that we have right now with that program, but with our new provider, really like to stay on top of that.
Agreed.
Very good. Thank you. Are there any other items that a colleague of mine would like to have pull further discussion? Any members of the public, do you have a question on a consent calendar item? Seeing and hearing none, I'll accept a motion for action.
I'll move to approve the agenda, amending item F and pulling item H.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Supervisor McCauley,
Yes.
Supervisor Wamhaugh,
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers, Chairman Poitras.
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Very good. Thank you. Let's move on with item 6A.
6A, Board of Supervisors Department, presentation of a proclamation honoring the life of Judge Richard McMecken.
Very good. With this particular proclamation honoring the life of a very great resident of Madera County, I'd like to introduce former Supervisor Tom Wheeler and Judge Ernie Lakowski. I'd like to have you come on up, and we have a proclamation I'm going to hand to you, and so that you can make the presentation. Darren, come on down.
States. Whereas Richard McMecken was born October 15th, 1937 to Melvin and Frances McMecken, and whereas Richard McMecken was a graduate of Brea Olinda High School and later earned his law degree from Western State College of Law in Orange County, California. And whereas Richard McMecken enlisted in the United States Army and served as a military police officer, a role that underscored his lifelong commitment to law and order. Whereas Richard McMecken served as a police officer for the Garden Grove Police Department, an insurance manager for a decade, and as a private practice attorney in San Juan Capistrano and later in Oakhurst, California. And whereas Richard McMecken was dedicated to his community, which was further exemplified during his tenure as Justice Court Judge in Bass Lake, California. And whereas Richard McMecken was appointed by Governor George Deckmajian as the 5th Superior Court Judge in Mariposa County, and then elected for 2 terms as the Superior Court Judge of Mariposa County. And whereas Richard McMecken was an avid reader and food enthusiast and loved traveling the world with his wife, Carol, his commitment to community service was evident through his roles on the Yosemite High School District Board as a Rotary member and his involvement with the Yosemite High School golf team. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed on this 15th day of October, 2025, that the Board of Supervisors of the County of Madera, State of California, does hereby honor Richard McMecken for his love of family, country, and God. Signed by the Board of Supervisors.
I let him read that because I had something I wanted to say about Judge. Back in the early 80s, I have a big Indian arrowhead collection that I'd been collecting since I was a kid in high school. And some a-hole up there come and broke my front door out and stole the whole case that I'd actually made the case when I was in high school over Sierra. And his name is Mr. Mike Renfro. And so I have my wife and I were gone at the time she was pregnant, and it snowed that that day. And so when I got home, the front door was crashed open, and the front doors were from etched glass from Ireland that I'd bought up at Jackson Antique Store. And so I called my brother-in-law, Dyke Fink, and they come down, and we tracked him. He walked in. He didn't. I lived 5 miles off the road on the ranch, and he had walked in, broke the door in, and took off with my arrowheads. So we tracked him for 2 miles to his house, and he wasn't there, but his father-in-law was in the house next door. And I said, "Where's Mike at?" And he said, "Well, he took off last night." And I said, "Yeah, the asshole went and broke into my house and stole all my arrowheads." And so I said, "Let me get in his house." So he opened the door for me. And inside the door, they had found, I'd called the sheriff too, and they met me there. And we found he had stolen a whole bunch of stuff from the Forest Service and from the PG&E. So it wasn't only my stuff, it was that too. So anyway, I was after. I'd done everything I could do to find him because he left North Fork. And I found out finally, somebody said that he was living with his sister up at Roseville. So I called the sheriff. They went up there and they found him and arrested him and they brought him down. So I went up to Bass Lake where they had him, and I asked them if I could go in the jailhouse and just for a couple minutes with him, but they wouldn't let me. And so he went in front of Judge McMecken, and I told the judge all about what happened. And so he said, he told him, he says, I'll let you out on bail, $10,000 bail, if you'll go and bring back Mr. Wheeler's arrowhead collection. And he said, well, I didn't do it, but I can get them for me if you'll let me out. So they let him out. He went, and a couple of days later, the sheriff's department called me. I go up there and there's a bag of most of my arrowheads, but he kept all the best ones. And I had some spearheads like that he kept. And I had 3 strings of beads, like they're 2 feet long, and he kept all those. And so the judge said, well, we need to have you get the rest of those. So anyway, he let him out again and he took off. And so he didn't come back, and they didn't find him for quite a while. But anyway, in between that, the sheriff called me and said, hey, come up to court a certain day. I don't remember what day it was. This is like 1984. So I go up there and Judge McMecken says, we got something for you. And I said, what is it? And he said, well, he says, since those doors were valued at like $8,000. And so, and I tried to get him the glass replaced with the one he broke out. And they wanted like $10,000 to replace that glass because this had 3 layers of etching in it from the 1800s. And it had private bar across the top of it. Really fancy. It was just this big. And the judge says, well, since he took off and we don't need that money, I've ordered the court clerk to write you a check for $10,000, that bail money. And they gave me a check for $10,000. So they never did catch that sucker either. So, and he don't come around Norfolk either, because if they did, I'd still get him. I just a good friend who was actually Bobby's dad, Doug, and Susan McCauley's very good friends with, and they told me, they actually called me last night and said they knew I was coming down, and they said that they were really sorry they couldn't be here. Thank you, Doug and Susan.
And I want to thank the Board of Supervisors for inviting me here. I have so many fond memories of Judge McMecken. And, you know, when one word comes to mind when I think about him is gentleman. He was a true gentleman. And when everyone's might have been losing their minds, he was always calm and collected. And one of my favorite stories is I was prosecuting a gentleman for possession of a loaded firearm in a vehicle. And one of the elements is that it has to be in public. And the guy was arguing it wasn't in public. And so I was a young deputy, and Judge McMecken said, well, why don't we go up where this happened and see if it's in public? And so the sergeant for the sheriff's office got a 4-wheel drive vehicle, and Judge McMecken, the sergeant, and I drove up with permission of the defendant and the defense attorney. And we were going up such terrain that I thought we were going to fall backwards. And there was bumps and hills, and it was very scary for me. And there were no trespassing signs all over the place. And at one point, going up a hill so steep, the sergeant said, well, I don't know about you, Ernie, but I'm beginning to think this isn't public. And Judge McMecken said, well, I'm the judge and I have to refrain from passing judgment right now. And there was a little smile on his face. But anyway, we decided, all 3 of us, this was not public. That he was always a gentleman. And I have such fond memories. And on my way over here, I was talking about him to my bailiff. And I said, what a nice man he was. And my bailiff says, well, Darren McMecken is too. And I said, well, obviously, because the fruit doesn't fall far from the tree.
I would just like to say on behalf of my brother and my two sisters and my mother, really appreciate this recognition, my father's distinguished career. Thank you very much.
We will now, are there any members of the public that have a comment? No. Okay, thank you very much. It was all said. Thank you. Let's move on to item 6B.
Board of Supervisors Department, presentation of the annual Madera County Awards of Excellence 2024.
Very good. Thank you. This is the time of year that we recognize individuals for exemplary work, commitment to excellence, commitment to their job, going above and beyond the call of duty. These are people and departments who are what I would definitely say are extraordinary. A year or two ago, it used to be this award was called the chairman of the board, something like that, the chairman's county award of excellence. And I thought that wasn't good enough because these are people who are serving the public. They're serving those in Madera County, and it goes way beyond whoever the chairman is. And so I thought that this title definitely demonstrated more honor in terms of those deserving individuals. So without further ado, we will begin the ceremonies, and our first presenter will be Lieutenant Ian Weaver from Madera County Sheriff's Department. Wow, the presenter gets recognition like this. Wait until the recipient's announced. Wow.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, board members, and residents of Madera County. First of all, thank you for this opportunity. I think oftentimes our coworkers are recognized by their peers and maybe even supervisors in an informal way at the office, but having this ability to come here today and get recognized, I think is extremely important. So thank you. Detective Michaela Palmer, she was hired by the Sheriff's Office about 4 years ago. And prior to that, she worked for the Santa Barbara Police Department for about 4 years. And the last 2 years, she's been assigned to the Investigations Division. I'm currently the lieutenant that oversees that division. Michaela's caseload is primarily sex offense cases. And unfortunately, a high priority of those, or a high number of those cases involve minor victims or survivors, as we'll say, and adult victims as well. Those cases are very complex. They're obviously time consuming. They, I believe, take an emotional toll, not only on the survivors and the families, but also the investigators that have to work those cases. And those are the type of cases that really can't just be investigated by the Sheriff's Office alone. We need to take that collaborative approach we talk about often in the county. So she has really formed very professional, efficient, effective relationships with the district attorney's office, child protective services, victim advocates, other law enforcement agencies. Sometimes these victims have been exposed to traumatic abuse in different counties, and then we get a case. So she really has to dig into previous allegations to build that case. And another thing that she does that I really appreciate is she keeps the survivors and their families in the loop on the investigation. I think that's extremely important, whether it's a sex offense case or a simple petty theft, right? Oftentimes our victims make a report and they're kind of left in the dark. And I think she does a great job of communicating where she's at with the investigation, what they can expect next. She also recently kind of took the lead on handling our sexual assault registrants that come into our office. Some of those people have to register monthly, some are maybe quarterly, and others are annual. So she's done an excellent job of not just balancing her caseload, but also taking that. I have a great team of investigators back here that help her with that, but she really did take the lead and she wanted to learn. I just can't say enough good things about her. And again, thank you for the opportunity and congratulations.
I'm not going to keep a long speech, but I'm only here because of my great team standing in the back here and because of my agency. I've been with our agency for 4 years, and I'm very proud to be a representative, not only for Madera County Sheriff's Department, but also for Madera County. So thank you for letting me be a part of the community and representing those in need.
Very good. Let's go ahead and get a picture after each presentation. So I'd ask my colleagues to come on down, and if you want to, there's some side chairs. You can stay down here. You don't have to keep coming back, although it's a good exercise. So why don't we go ahead and move to the front here? Okay, the next presentation will be made to the Madera County Library staff. The presenter will be our librarian, Krista Riggs, and we're going to move them up the program. It was down a little bit, but the library's closed right now, and there's a bunch of little kids, and there's a big long line of 200 kids trying to get in there. So we're going to get them up here, and so we can get the library opened again. So Krista, go ahead and come on up and make the presentation.
Well, good morning, everybody. As you all know, the library department has an extremely dedicated staff spread out across 5 locations and a bookmobile. But I'm here today to join you in recognizing our team that works just across the street at the main library here in Madera. And we've been undergoing a prolonged facility issue that started in early July. And I'm so proud of this group of amazing people because through it all, the team has maintained their professionalism, their patience, their positivity, and even more importantly, they've maintained their sense of kindness and teamwork, supporting each other through the ups and downs while providing excellent public service with grace and compassion. And even though we've had reduced open hours for the past 3 months, our circulation statistics have remained strong. They've been working super hard. We checked out nearly 11,000 items to patrons over this time just at our main library. We've also recorded over 5,000 checkouts on Hoopla and Libby, which are our online ebook platforms. The team members also finished up the summer reading program and continued offering their popular robotics programs, story times, and craft programs using the government center here. So thank you for letting us use this facility for those programs. Behind the scenes, the team also kept the centralized ordering and processing running smoothly, sorting, crating, and delivering of materials flowing among all of our libraries here in Madera County and also our consortium from Mariposa to Bakersfield. They created purchase orders, process invoices, and all of the other tasks necessary to keep operations running smoothly across a multi-branch system. So we're grateful to our supervisors, county administration, and general services, especially for all they've done to take care of the issue and to take care of us in the process. Everybody's been so kind and helpful. I'm extremely grateful to this library team for maintaining that professionalism and keeping a sense of humor and resilience through it all. And just for being kind and compassionate people. And to quote Supervisor Wheeler here, that's what makes Madera County that great place to live, work, and play. And yes, and in traditional librarian fashion, I'm just going to mention everybody alphabetically by last name. So here we go. We have Selena Alarcón. You want to raise your hand. Mariana Cook, Julia Gomez, Vasey Hernandez, Adela Herrera, Yvette Herrera, Alma Madrigal Ward, Maria Madrigal, who is our branch lead, who keeps everybody in line and running things smoothly, Josie Mesa, Ignacio Negrete, and Elliot Periton. So thank you all. Thank you.
All right, very good. Come on down. We'll take a photo. And Krista, we have this award of excellence, and then I have certificates on the back that you can give. I know you're going to have a private ceremony with big barbecue with tri-tip and all that. You can hand out the certificates there. Thank you. Very good. The next presentation will be with the Madera County Sheriff's Office, the Jail Division, and we have Captain Chris Rodriguez. Chris.
Here he is. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Captain Chris Rodriguez, Madera Sheriff's Office. Today, it's my honor to recognize Sergeant Ben Mendoza, a remarkable member of our team who will receive the Award of Excellence. Sergeant Mendoza has dedicated 15 years to the Madera County Jail, consistently demonstrating an unwavering commitment to our mission and our values. As a leader of our correctional emergency response team, he has ensured the safety of our facility and has set the standard of excellence through his professionalism, accountability, and compassion. While assigned to the Classification Service Unit, Sergeant Mendoza was faced with a significant staffing crisis. Yet, he and his team stepped up and maintained stability during these challenging times. His ability to adapt quickly and effectively has greatly enhanced our efficiency of our operations. He has also played a key role in investigating facility-related crimes, working closely with the District Attorney's Office to secure successful prosecution, impacting the safety of our community. Sergeant Mendoza's leadership goes beyond his job duties. He has implemented innovative strategies that have strengthened our safety protocols and reduced potential liabilities. Congratulations to Sergeant Mendoza, and thank you for an outstanding service. You truly embody the spirit of excellence, and we are grateful to your dedication to our team and the community of Madera County. Thank you very much. You want to say a few words?
I want to thank the board and then thank my family. They've supported me throughout the last 15 years and also sacrificed with me for the last 15 years. I'd like to thank all my mentors that have taught me and given me advice to get me to where I'm at today, as well as all the subordinates that I've got to work with and help mentor in their careers. Thank you, guys.
The next award will be presented to a recipient from our district attorney's office, and we have our district attorney, Sally Moreno, who will make the presentation.
Good morning. I know you guys have read all my application and paperwork, so you probably know a little bit about this year's recipient, Jeff Ducraw. But I just wanted to share with everybody. Jeff came to the office in 2019, shortly after I did, and he came after a long and illustrious career as a homicide prosecutor and an administrator in the county immediately to the south of us. I won't say the name because in our office we try not to say the F word. But you know, a lot of people don't understand the power that the public prosecutor has. It's our decisions every day that decide whether to file charges or not to file charges that change somebody's life so dramatically, whether to make an offer and what kind of an offer to make. And again, each one of those decisions changes people's lives in dramatic ways. And the thing about Jeff that makes him so exceptional is sometimes, you know, they say power corrupts. But with Jeff, the more authority and responsibility he gets, the more compassionate and aware he is of his impact on people's lives. Some of the things that he did really on his own motion. These days, we all know we have a crisis in homelessness and drug addiction and theft. And single-handedly, before anybody suggested it, he put together a multidisciplinary team, and they had a monthly meeting where they would talk about, you know, what we in the vernacular call our frequent flyers, people who have ongoing issues with homelessness and drug addiction and mental illness, and those things entangle, and these are terrifically challenging problems. And Jeff was always compassionate and always looking for the right answers. A lot of people see our office, the DA's office, as that heavy-handed hammer that comes down on people and imposes consequences. And there's a place for that, but there's also a place for this type of compassion and finding good solutions for people. And that's what Jeff always does. So in addition to that team that he put together, he now has put together a complete process for how we deal with people who are incompetent to stand trial. And that includes a compassionate analysis of what's best for these people. And having said that, there is that place for the hammer. And not long ago, Jeff stepped in when we had a very tragic case out of Chowchilla where a person really out of sheer anger drove down the street and killed a pedestrian and just ran into him on purpose. And in that case, you know, Jeff went to trial on that case. And in the middle of the trial, a very complex legal issue came up. And I just honestly, if any other attorney, first of all, in our office, but second of all, any other attorney I know would not have had the information at hand. Judge LaCalci, is Judge LaCalci still here? He was trying that case. And because this defense came up so late and so unexpected, and there was no research, his reflex, which candidly I think would have been all of our reflex, was to say, no, none of that information is going to come in. But Jeff paused. He said, no, you know, I'm familiar with the case law in this area, and this piece has to come in and not that or that, but this piece has to come in and not that, but this piece has to come in. And but for that, that case would have come back on appeal. I tell every person in my office, when Jeff is doing a hearing, be it a preliminary hearing or a trial, go and watch. He's masterful, he's kind, he's compassionate, and he's succinct. I just can't speak highly enough about him. You know, the way the office runs, I'm the politician. I end up outside the office at the Old Timers Parade, and he ends up inside the office dealing with these detailed issues of what is the proper offer in this case. And the relationship that we have, you know, he always knows like what cases I'm going to want to know about. Like, oh, we're doing this on this case. I thought you should know. And the way that he handles the whole breadth and depth of information is absolutely masterful. I can't say enough about him. And he does exemplify the culture of excellence in Madera County. Thank you.
I know it's horrible. Give two lawyers in a row a chance to speak. This could be going on for a while. I'll be brief. I just want to say thank you to the county for accepting me into the county. Now I just turned 5 years earlier this month, last week actually, and couldn't be more excited to be here. I do miss my Fresno family, but I'll say the F word. But couldn't be more happier to be here with working in this county. And as we all know, these awards go to one person, and thank you, Sally, for the kind words and your leadership in the office. But the reality is that nobody earns these by themselves. And it's a team. And I just want to acknowledge the members of our office who are here and this third row back here. Thank you for coming over and supporting me both here today with this award, and then also just help me get through the day to get to do these things that we need to do for Madera County. So thank you very much.
Our next presentation will be with the probation department, and we have our chief, Chris Childers, to make the presentation. Chris.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, members of the public, esteemed colleagues, and everybody else in the crowd. Appreciate everybody's presence here today. I'm your Chief Probation Officer, and it's an honor to present and recognize Senior Deputy Probation Officer Veronica Horta for this esteemed award. Her 18 years is a testament not only to her dedication, but to her public service, her outstanding work performance, and her professionalism, and finally, her commitment to making a positive impact in the community. And that's what probation officers do, is we aim to make that positive impact in the community. However, what truly makes Veronica special in her dedication is her volunteer work and her community engagement. That's above and beyond her role as a deputy probation officer. She has gone well above the standard in her professional duties and her daily duties. And she has taken on this incredible responsibility of leading the Madera County Special Olympics. And let me tell you, that's no simple task. And she has done that in an exemplary fashion. She's actually united all the law enforcement agencies to participate in this event and to support Special Olympics. Her leadership in organizing these various events and activities is nothing short of exceptional. But Veronica's commitment doesn't stop there. She tirelessly works year-round fundraising for Special Olympics. And it's this level of dedication and commitment that touches so many lives. That's the lives of the Special Olympics and the athletes. Veronica defines what it means to go above and beyond, not just as a probation officer, but as a dedicated advocate for those in need. On behalf of the probation department and my colleagues and the friends and family, it's a distinct pleasure to be here in the presence of Senior Deputy Probation Officer Veronica Horta in the reception of this award. Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank God for all the blessings and the continued protection over my life. To my family, thank you for supporting every single thing that I do. And to my chiefs, thank you for putting me in these roles and allowing me to achieve the things that I have. I could not have done it without your trust, not only in our department, but also in the community representing our department. And to the Board of Supervisors, thank you for selecting me as the recipient of this award. I am truly honored.
Thank you.
And our last recipient will be from the Maintenance and Grounds team, and our CAO, Jay Varney, will make the presentation.
Just a couple. So you know you're not going to sit out there while I read this, right? So all of you and your main boss there, Janelle and Anthony, if you come up here and stand at the front, it'll go faster, believe me. So this nomination was actually done by another staff member and admin. It was done by Jason Blanks, and we appreciate the fact that in his role as county safety officer, he's taken the time to notice good work elsewhere, and furthermore, not just to see it, but to document it. So we have a pretty big team here, but we also have probably more buildings than you realize. We have over 80 buildings countywide. We have property all over the place. We have things that people think are our property. We have things that people think we come out and maintain for them. So this group of folks it's kind of unusual. You probably don't notice them, and that's probably what they like the best. They just want to come out and fix your problem and get on to the next one. So those of you who've worked here for a while, you remember that Raymond led at least the maintenance side of this team for years and years, and then led both sides for a couple of years. He set a pretty high standard, and I think in some ways we've made our own monster, so to speak, because he set an attitude of being able to respond to anything, anytime. So I think we kind of overachieved there. And then with Janelle coming on board, I think we've just continued that tradition. But I think she's a little more willing to prioritize things in a manner that works out best for the folks that we're serving and for the folks that serve you. Uh, they probably know more about your buildings than you do. Probably if they could see the CRMs before you even enter them, they probably know what's broken in your building. Like in this building, it's always those two back doors in the back by the water fountain, right? Our elevator's been pretty good lately. So if you think about it, if we have over 80 different buildings built by over 80 different companies, and these guys and ladies are supposed to take care of all the problems in all those buildings and to maintain the grounds at all those, this year's been particularly challenging on the ground side. Had some issues over at the courthouse park with the water and the sewer both. If you haven't heard the story, at one point Janelle was over there while they were trying to find the water line in the ground for Courthouse Park, and the guy just like got a look on his face like he was being electrified and wanted to rip the earphones off. And he took them off and looked at her and said, "Did you hear that?" She looked at him like, "Are you crazy?" And he started doing it again. He did it again. So somehow this guy, when he was searching for the water line, was hearing voices under the ground. So maybe the courthouse is haunted, and we should sell like tickets for this guy's line finder. Maybe we could finance the deficit with that. So exactly. So it, these guys are always working together as a team. They're already supporting each other. Things pop up like the picnic in the park. They're there to do all that setup, do all that tear down. We had a great parade the next day. Unfortunately, the vendors and the folks setting that side up left like a day's worth of work for a whole lot of these folks. afterwards, but they don't complain. They just get out there, get it done, and make the county literally look good afterwards. So we just wanted to bring them up and congratulate them on a great year of service and to let them know how much we appreciate what they do. Thank you.
We have our plaques that we'll be giving to each of the departments, and then we have individual certificates that will be dispersed after the ceremony.
Yeah.
Before we move into our public hearing time, are there any members of the public that have a comment regarding this last item? Seeing and hearing none, we will move into our public hearings, and the first item 7A.
Community and Economic Development Department Planning Division, State Community Development Block Grant in 2024 Notice of Funding Availability. Number one, hearing to accept comments on the county's proposed submittal of all applications to apply under the 2024 State Community Development Block Grant Notice of Funding Availability and to solicit citizens' input. Number two, discussion and consideration to approve a resolution approving the application for funding and the execution of a grant agreement and any amendments thereto from the 2024 funding year of the state CDBG program.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Jamie Bax, Community and Economic Development again. Before you is a request to move forward with a resolution. We were actually before your board last summer in July with a similar resolution. HCD did not publish the NOFA at that time like we thought they would. They ended up waiting until 2024. So this item is very similar to the one you saw last year. They do have new formatting for their resolutions up at HCD. So this resolution is within that format requirement. We did publish this in a multitude of places, including in the newspaper, social media outlets, at the library, at different departments, and on calendars in order to meet HCD guidelines. And with that, we're here to take any public comment. In order to proceed, we do have a couple of projects for infrastructure projects for this particular round for improvements to Road 426, Sierra Way, and Road 425B in Oakhurst. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. Are there any questions from one of my colleagues regarding this item? Seeing and hearing none, this is a public hearing. Are there any members of the public that have any comments regarding the county's proposed submittal? Yes.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of supervisors. Robert Mansfield, Madera County. I do have a couple concerns that I would like to see addressed. Number one, from the Madera Tribune's article or the notice, the county says they are applying for program income funds. Actually, that would be misleading in the sense that program incomes are funds that the county itself directly receives from repayment from loans and is not directed through HCD at all, but comes directly to the county. So I would suggest that that is a potential misnomer that should be addressed. In addition, the board letter that was posted online did not indicate the nexus between the signal lights that are being proposed to be built, benefiting low or moderate income families. I know a few years back, Self-Help, I believe it was contracted to do what amounts to an income survey type of project. I do not know if that was ever completed. That would point to this particular area as a low or moderate income that would be benefited by these projects. So I'd like to see these addressed before any approvals by Board of Supervisors moves forward. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other comments from the public? This is a public hearing. Is there anybody online that has a comment?
No comments online.
Okay, we will now close the public hearing and bring the item back for action.
Chair, I'd move to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor McCauley?
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Supervisor Wamhong?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Chairman Poitras?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. We'll move on to item 8A.
Board of Directors, Groundwater Sustainability Agency, Water and Natural Resources Department, informational update on the Madera Subbasin Joint GSP Periodic Evaluation Plan and Amendment. Plan Amendment.
Mr. Chair, can I make a statement real quick?
Yes.
Just, I know there's some folks that are here for the regular items on the agenda for some presentations, some folks from Matilda Torres and from CAPMC, but we have to take the 10:30 hearings, after 10:30. So I see you're anxious and ready to get back, but we have to do this. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm ready to share the screen. Thank you. Okay. This is as brief as it can be. Today, we're going to talk about the background on the Madera Subbasin only. We'll talk about the past, present, future timelines, corrective actions required by the Department of Water Resources, current challenges, and then the annual report letter. So I think you all know this, but briefly, there are 7 groundwater sustainability agencies in the Madera Subbasin. 7 is a lot, although not as much as in our Delta Mendota, where there are 23. Those 7 GSAs form what are called GSP groups. We have 4 separate GSPs, including the one the county participates in, where I am the plan manager. That's the joint GSP, with a total of 325,000 acres out of about 350,000. And then there's 3 additional GSPs. So our timeline looking into the past, we submitted the 4 GSPs in January 2020. We did not have a complete coordination agreement. One party refused to sign. We went into a mediation and came out with a completed coordination agreement, and eventually were moved from the state board jurisdiction back to DWR in October of 2020. Now, this is important because the Madera Subbasin has been on about a 9-month delay compared to other comparable subbasins. In September of 2022, DWR found the GSPs incomplete. That means come back to us with more robust GSPs addressing some issues. And then in March 2023, we revised and resubmitted. And your board adopted a version at that point. And then we got an adequate determination or acceptable in December of 2023. So again, that's about 6 to 9 months after other agencies and other subbasins because we started out delayed when we didn't have a completed coordination agreement. So here's where we are now. We are on a super fast timeline. We've had less than a year to do the plan amendment and periodic evaluation. That is currently under review by staff in our department. You're having an update today. We plan on having an update next month as well and having a public release of the document next month. It would be excellent to have some public workshops, either with the joint GSP group, that's the City, County, Madera Water District, and Madera Irrigation District, or all 7 GSAs, either this month or next month. And then we will have to turn in a periodic evaluation and plan amendment in January, at the end of the month, January 31st. So note that some of this language is different than you may have heard. We are not redoing the plan. It's not an update. What's required under the state water code is a periodic evaluation every 5 years, which may have a plan amendment. This is much more similar to a county general plan where you don't redo it every 5 years. You simply amend it with necessary elements. So I'm now going to walk you through what was listed from the state as corrective actions. The first action is that all GSAs must adopt the GSPs. Madera Irrigation District did not adopt it. They have now, as of today, adopted it. So action 1 is taken care of. Action 2 is GSA coordination that needs to continue. Right now, what we have found and what is successful in other subbasins, including Kern, is that the technical staff will continue to coordinate and have come to concurrence in terms of using the same data and methodologies, as well as using the groundwater model that we are using as well. We also have some facilitation support services, which are free to us and through the state, that are helping the GSAs work through their issues. Issue 3, sustainable management criteria. So DWR wanted more justification for how they were set, particularly in terms of groundwater levels, subsidence, and water quality. We're doing additional modeling. The GSP author team did infrastructure interviews to see what expectations were and experience with subsidence, including with our own public works, but also with other public entities like the Lower San Joaquin Levee District. And we're working towards language that demonstrates the nexus between groundwater levels and subsidence. The fourth and most robust one, and you've probably heard this, the state cares deeply about subsidence, which is damaging infrastructure, particularly canals around the state. And so DWR said the sustainable management criteria needed to be revised. So we are documenting our infrastructure interviews. We're refining the number of monitoring wells that would constitute an undesirable result. We are looking at what is significant and unreasonable for each GSA. And we're developing a maximum number of inches of cumulative subsidence. Almost done with what we needed to address. The hydrologic conceptual model, DWR did not like the level or percent of uncertainty in our modeling. Part of what is wrong there is the module for subsidence couldn't be used because it wasn't ready from the state in time. So we have now updated the model with that module. And then lastly, DWR wanted consistent sustainable management criteria for water quality. So all of the technical leads have decided to adopt what was in the joint GSP in terms of key constituents and minimum thresholds. And then we're adding additional text related to water quality. So that is all of the work that has happened between January and October. As I mentioned, I currently have staff reading the plan, including myself. There will be revisions and then it will come to a public release in November. We have a couple of current challenges I will walk you through. As you know, the big action that the county GSA can take is demand management. And if we could go back to the slide, that would be excellent. Sorry, clerk of the board's office. We have a robust demand management program which can survive without funding. We can always do demand management. The projects that are funded add water to this system and leave the subbasin in a place where you would have more inches of allocation. We will need to sign another coordination agreement by the end of the year. By the end of January, when we turn in the plan, we have hired a facilitator to help with that piece. We also have a facilitator helping with domestic well mitigation rules. We will need to have more public meetings where we're sharing this out, but there hasn't been anything to share because of the technical work going on until right now. We also need a cost sharing agreement for the GSP amendment and periodic evaluation costs, which are somewhere around $450,000. We have another $500,000 that was funded by a grant and paid for the modeling. So it's a big effort just to do an amendment that addresses the 6 inadequacies. I did want to share some data that I've shared at a conference recently, and I know there's a couple icons at the top, so let me read you the title. This is a graph of the evapotranspiration of applied water over several years, and this graph, like many things in science, has good news and bad news. The good news is that if you look at the green bars representing the county GSA and the Madera subbasin, you are seeing a serious decrease in water use over time. So that is very good for the Madera subbasin. This is indicating that allocations are successful and working, and it is the result of 100 smaller decisions that growers have made to take out crops and to manage to their water use within an allocation. So that, I think, is the good news. The not so great news is we do show the water use in 2020 and 2021 being a bit higher than we had originally estimated. So we basically went up in order to come down. So what this graph needs is to see the same trend continue over the next couple of years. So as further evidence that we are seeing a decrease in water use, take a look at what is the irrigated acres within the county GSAs, which show a same trend downward if you look at the green bars. Now that's the Madera subbasin, and that's what this presentation is on. The Chowchilla subbasin is not showing as great trends, but we can address that later. So lastly, I did want to talk through an annual report letter. We have turned in annual reports for 4 years. They're due April 1st, and we have not received any feedback until recently. And then we have a feedback letter from DWR that requested more information in the future in our reports. That includes how your projects are working, how your demand management is working, and then a request that all of the annual reports be consolidated into one document, so DWR wasn't reading 4 separate ones by GSP group. That concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer your questions.
Thank you very much. Great presentation. Are there any questions from my colleagues regarding this report? Very good. No questions. Are there any members of the public who have questions regarding this update? Anybody online?
None online.
Okay. Very good. That was an informational report. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll now move to 6C.
Board of Supervisors Department, presentation of a proclamation recognizing October 2024 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Board of Supervisors, Maddie Mendez of Community Action Partnership of Madera County. We'd like to thank you for the proclamation, and we'd like to include the members of the public to be aware. CAPMC has been providing services for domestic violence victims for over 30 years. We have a shelter and we provide emergency services. We cannot do this alone. We know that it takes many agencies to do domestic violence services, and that's law enforcement, our police departments, our Madera Sheriff's Departments, our DA's office, and also our advocates at CAPMC. We also work well with behavioral health and social services, child protective services, and other members in Department of Social Services. Domestic violence is widespread social and public health crisis that affects individuals across all classes, races, ethnicities, and sexualities. According to the National Coalition of Domestic Violence, 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men have been victims of physical violence by an intimate partner within their lifetime. During the 2023-2024 fiscal year, which starts October 1st, 2023, CAPMC has served 563 unduplicated clients, 537 adults, and 26 of the 563 were children. There have been 43 shelter clients during this time, which included 632 bed nights. That would have been bed nights at the emergency shelter. We have 97 unduplicated restraining orders. CAPMC and staff are working diligently to provide additional housing support for our domestic violence victims by applying to HUD for a transitional housing grant. We have a small grant that provides rental assistance, but we hope to expand that because our domestic violence shelter provides emergency. It's an emergency shelter, so that's 30 to 60 days. We thank you for the proclamation, and we hope that we continue to work together to bring awareness and to end domestic violence in Madera County.
Very good. Thank you very much. Great presentation, and what a vital service.
Can I add 2 other comments?
Please.
Please join us on Thursday, October 17th. It's Purple Day in recognition of Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And on Friday, October 25th, Victim Services will be hosting the 22nd Annual Soup Bowl. We hope to see you there. Their tickets are $15 and includes the bowl. It's infamous for the bowl you receive when you purchase your ticket. And it will be at the Methodist Church on Sunset. It'll probably open at 11:30.
Excellent. I thought it was a football game you were inviting us to, but it's actually soup. Okay,
Yes.
great. Thank you. No, I've been there. It's a great event and very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Very good. Any comments from my colleagues? Are there any members of the public who have a comment they'd like to make? If not, please join us here. We will take a photo commemorating. Very good. Next, we'll move on to item 6D.
Board of Supervisors Department, recognition of the Matilda Torres High School Band for receiving the first place overall show for their entry in the 2024 Old Timers Day Parade.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Nick Salinas, District 3 Chief of Staff, and here today as the chairman of the Old Timers Day Parade. I'd like to first start by thanking everyone for your support and your attendance at the parade. This year marked the 93rd year of the parade's legacy, which is the longest running public event in Madera County. And we had just over 70 entries this year, which is the largest number of entries that I've seen in doing this for the past 5 years. And attendance seemed to be on the very, very high end, which is excellent. So with that said, of all the entries, we have one special entry today to recognize, and I'd like to invite up the Director of Visual and Performing Arts for MUSD, Brandon Gillis, and also the Band Director of Matilda Torres High, Ryan Durham. Come on up and join me.
We'll cover your picture. That's all right. Don't worry. Well, my whole job was just to thank you guys very much for this recognition today, and of course, publicly say thanks to all of the community organizations that put this great event together, and to the chairperson, Nick Salinas here. Great job, Mr. Salinas. This is as you know, you've all been to the parade many times, I'm sure, a great source of pride for our community, one that I've enjoyed my whole lifetime, and it's so great to see Midair Unified not just show up well and take the stage for our students and our student artists, but to have such a great achievement as first overall. So with us today is Band Director Ryan Durham, Principal Sabrina Rodriguez, Senior Head Drum Major Emily Longoria, and Senior Color Guard Captain Maria Fernanda Gomez Rodriguez. Here, we recognize. Thank you.
Very good. I like to hear from the band director myself. All right.
Sorry, this microphone's probably gonna be too low. I'm used to that at our meetings. Thank you, Board of Supervisors, for having us here, Mr. Chairman. My name is Ryan Durham. I'm the band director for Torres and have been since sorry, the camera probably had to adjust too. I can shrink down. But from opening of the school, prior to that, I was in Firebaugh High School, so restarting their program. So it's been very special to build this program in Madera. When I was first hired, Superintendent Todd Lyle told me that Madera is known as to be a band town. And that was hard to see right when we started from the pandemic, because everything had been shut down for so long, and starting a marching band in a pandemic is not something you should ever try to do. But we were very fortunate to have such a welcoming community, a community that was ready to help to fund our program, a school district that was very willing to support starting a band program, and the Madera and Torres community specifically that have worked super hard, and to see the kids achieve what they have in their short time of our ensembles already achieving unanimous superiors at state festivals. For our color guard last semester, just went an undefeated season for the first time, and also earning first place, and our percussion also beating out some other schools within Fresno County and Clovis County, and already establishing themselves as a group to be watching as well. So it's been very special to be a part of Madera, and to be able to perform at our Old Timers Day Parade every year is always a highlight in our calendar, to be able to show up for our community along with our Christmas parade. So thank you again for the opportunity to have us out here, and we continue to look forward to making music for all of our community members for the years to come. So thank you so much.
Very good. Thank you very much. And great presentation. So thank you again for all your hard work. And we know it's countless hours. I mean, in a short presentation, you make it sound easy, but we know it's hours and hours and hours and hours and weeks and months to get there, and just the commitment from the staff and the kids. So again, thank you very much. So what we'll do is I have a certificate of recognition. I'd like to take a picture here. And Mr. Chairman of the Old Timers Parade, would you join us in the picture?
Mr. Chairman, if I could have a couple, just a comment.
Uh-huh.
So first of all, Torres is in District 1. Woo! All right. At the Old Timers Parade, I was lucky enough to sit on top of one of the sheriff's vehicles, but I was able to watch you guys. You guys were really awesome. I graduated from Reedley High School, which is known for having a huge band, 400 people, right? It's enormous. But I think, just like what you guys will probably say, just because you're bigger doesn't mean you're better too, right? But I know the dedication you guys go through in marching band, because I remember it would just go till, we'd hear it in the community until 9, 10 o'clock at night. You hear the drums, hear everything. And so I know the dedication you guys give, and you guys really did an awesome job. So I just, again, want to thank you guys. Thank you for being in District 1, the best district in Madera County.
Are there any members of the public who have a comment on that last item? Seeing and hearing none, let's move on to item 6E.
Public Health Department, presentation of a proclamation declaring October 20th through October 26th, 2024 as National Lead Poisoning Prevention Week in Madera County.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. My name is Elsa Estrada, and I am the supervising public health nurse at the Department of Public Health. I'm here representing the Childhood Poisoning Prevention Program. Lead poisoning is an easy preventable condition that affects mainly young children and that may also have effects on their behavior and learning skills. In the Department of Public Health, we have a very small but successful program. And our nurses, what they do is they educate the public, they promote awareness about this problem, and they also provide case management when it's needed. In October, we celebrate this week, the week where we try to tell everybody about how to prevent lead poisoning. And it is an amazing program, like I said, very small but successful, and our nurses do many things. But instead of just trying to explain more about this program, what we did this time is we would like to present to you a video where you are going to see a family and you are going to see first time how our nurses interact with the families in Madera.
Hishida. I work for the Childhood Lead Poisoning Prevention Program known as CLIP. First, a few facts about lead. Lead is a heavy metal that is highly toxic when ingested or inhaled. There's no safe blood lead level. Children younger than 6 years of age are most vulnerable because the brain and nervous system are rapidly developing. Lead can be found throughout a child's environment. For example, homes built before 1978 may have lead-based paint. Search in water pipes, some products such as toys, jewelry, imported spices, and candies, soil or dirt. Children are usually exposed to lead by hand and mouth. Typically, children are tested for lead in the blood at 1 and 2 years old. Please meet Daisy and Eli. They are here today to share their lead story.
My name is Daisy Caspera, and this is what's your name?
Eli.
Eli Caspera.
Eli Caspera.
Why was Eli tested for lead?
We went to his yearly physical, and they did some blood tests there. It was just like a routine checkup.
Did you notice anything different in your child?
I didn't notice anything different. I mean, he did have some delays with speech, but that's about it.
Were you surprised when Eli's lead levels were high?
I was, and I was also scared because I knew about lead and how it's usually found in old homes. And our home is an older home. So I did worry, but Sandra contacted me and she explained to me how everything worked. and it made me feel better.
Can you tell us about your call with the nurse at MCDPH?
Yeah, it was amazing. She called. She told me she was from the health department. She was just calling to inform me that my son's lead levels were high, and she explained to me how the health department would be coming to my home and checking to see where the lead was coming from.
Tell us about your experience in the lead poisoning prevention program and working with staff.
It was pretty easy. Like I said, Sandra made it pretty smooth. She kept contacting me. They would come and visit Eli, do some testing on Eli, and she would keep me up to date. Also, she would remind me when it was time for him to get his test.
Were the changes you needed to make as a result of the process hard to do?
It took a little bit of time. We just wanted to make sure that our son was not exposed to anything like that. He used to have the habit of sucking on these two fingers. We were like, maybe that's the reason why, because he's going out there playing with dirt and then he's putting his fingers in his mouth. So I worked with that too. I did some research and found something that could help him stop that habit. And after we stopped that habit, we started to see how it started decreasing the levels of lead. I'm really happy that we don't have to worry about that. I'm happy with the program as well, all the help that I received and all the information that I'm aware of.
Did you see any changes in Eli once his lead levels dropped?
I did see changes in him. I seen him that he became more alert because before that he was more into his own little world and he started to become aware of his surroundings of others and having more eye contact with other people.
How is Eli today?
Well, Eli is a really smart, happy kid. He's grown so much since last time Sandra seen him. He's doing amazing in academic and stuff. He's an amazing kid. Loves dinosaurs.
What advice would you give a parent going through a similar experience?
I would tell him to not worry about it, that there's many help out there that we're not aware of. Of course, right away, I would tell them to call Sandra because I know she's going to do amazing guiding them and making them feel good and not worry or stress about the situation. And that I know that you guys will help them solve the issue and get those levels down.
We had invited the family to come here, but unfortunately, they were not able to come. And I would just like to add that the theme for this year is There is lead on that, or en Spanish, hay plomo allí. Y es nada más para tratar de hacer entender a todo el mundo que el plomo puede ser encontrado en muchísimos lugares around our homes. So if you don't have any other questions.
Very good. Thank you very much. Are there any comments from any of my colleagues? Seeing and hearing none, are there any members of the public? No comments. Let's go ahead and gather together to present the proclamation. Very good. Item 6F.
Board of Supervisors Department, Madera County Dairy Digester Program, or excuse me, project. Presentation of MAAS Energy Works on the Dairy Digester and Development Program. Discussion and consideration to sign a letter of support for MAAS Energy Works application for the CDFA Dairy Digesters Research Development Program and projects were located in Madera County.
Good morning, Chairman and Board, Jay Varney, County CAO. This morning's presentation will be presented by Mass Energy Works. Eileen will be doing the presentation. And then after the presentation, we would appreciate if you consider to sign a letter of support for Mass Energy Works related to the application for the CDFA Dairy Digester Research and Development Program for projects in Madera County. I have spoken to at least one entity in Madera County who's working with them, found them very enjoyable to work with. The idea behind this presentation is kind of threefold. The first is we're always looking for things to make this a better business environment for our ag providers. Number two, it's definitely a excellent way to try to recapture some things and do some energy efficient things. And lastly, Mass is one of only two entities that I can find so far that applies for the grants through this particular CDFA program. So we thought it would be great for the board to hear from them and consider giving them a letter of support for the upcoming grant cycle, which actually I believe closes at the end of this week or the beginning of next week. So Eileen will give the presentation.
Thank you guys so much. Let me get this presentation set up real quick. All right, good morning, members of the board. My name is Eileen Martino, and I do producer relations for BOS Energy Works. For clarification, BOS is the last name of my boss, so that's where that comes from. It's not an acronym. So I'm so thankful you guys have allowed us to come and present to you guys today. We are pretty new to Madera County. We do have an existing project in Madera County, but this is the first time we've applied for a grant in this county. So that's where the significance behind this presentation and this letter of support comes from. I just want to provide clarification. We do have printed presentations in both English and Spanish with my coworker Martin back there. So if you need any of those, please let us know, but we have those available. So the questions, easier? Yeah, that's going to be easier. The questions that we hope to answer today is, what is a manure digester? Who is BOS Energy Works? What are we proposing to build? And what are the potential impacts of these proposed projects? So what is a manure digester? So BOS Energy Works primarily builds covered lagoon style digesters in which we line and cover the pond with a plastic tarp-like material. And then we put manure water into that digester, either using an existing pond or building a new pond. And then that manure water actually releases methane gas that would otherwise be released into the atmosphere, and capturing it and turning it into renewable energy and renewable natural gas. So prior to a digester being put into place, there's the obvious positive byproducts that come from a dairy, milk, cheese, butter, ice cream, the products we all enjoy. But there is some negative impacts, some negative byproducts, which is methane gas being released into the atmosphere, and then some odor that can come off of a dairy. But with the implementation of a digester, digesters are just trying to become a part of the dairy's general flow. I always like to say dairymen are fantastic recyclers. So we just try to become a part of their recycling process and enhance their operations, not inhibit them. So obviously, like I mentioned, the positive dairy products, but then also instead of those methane gas being released into the atmosphere, we are converting it into renewable energy, renewable natural gas, and also reducing methane into the atmosphere. So we're reducing emissions, we are capturing that odor and creating a positive byproduct for clean vehicle fleets. So I want to create a couple illustrations for you guys to paint a picture essentially of what these digesters are capable of doing. So I always use this one. So one cow produces 2.5 equivalent barrels of oil per year and reduces greenhouse gas emissions by 5 tons. Additionally, I always like to use the one of one cow equals one cow contributing to a digester is equivalent of 1 car off the road. Another illustration is for a 3,000 wet cow equivalent dairy. So that's milking cows and their support stock included. We generate, 327,000 gallons of vehicle fuel per year. Additionally, one 3,000 cow dairy can fuel 45 renewable natural gas vehicles per year. So we partner with many vehicle fleets like Amazon, Waste Management, UPS, other large fleets, but we're also trying to work with some smaller fleets within some of the counties that we work with to see if they want to convert and we can create a fueling station for them. Who is Moss Energy Works? So we are a family-owned business actually out of Redding, California. And then back in 2017, 18, they started hiring some people here in the Valley. So I was the third hire down now in 2018. So many of our staff actually belong down here now, but we are the owner, developer, and operator of these projects, but we also give the opportunity for producers to own their own projects if they desire to do so. But many in the cases, we like to offer the opportunity for dairymen to do this without a single expense for them. So that's what we really love about our projects is they don't have to operate them. They don't have to go away from their day-to-day operations. And we put these digesters in and they're a cleaner operation. And also it's a new source of revenue for them as well by just providing us with manure. We work with over 70 farms in 8 states, but as you can see, majority of those lie in California. We have clusters in Merced County, Kings County, Tulare County, and Fresno County. And we're also working on a additional county up north in Turlock area. As I mentioned, there's about 150 employees, 25 Valley employees, estimated 25 Valley employees, and that comes down to construction, operations. Martin's a part of our IT and systems team. And I'm part of operations, but I'm, like I said, producer relations. So I'm not a technician per se. Don't trust me on a site. So we do most of our stuff in-house. We try to do as much as that in-house as we possibly can. So we do the design, we do the permits. So we work with many of your county departments, grants and financing, construction, operations, and marketing and credits. And when I mention credits, a big part of what we do is we are reducing emissions. So we are carbon negative on these dairies. And so we generate carbon credits through a state and federal carbon credit programs. And then we're able to sell those credits to refineries and people that need to buy these credits to stay within regulations. So I wanted to provide a few examples. Now, this is going to be a little unique because while the dairy that we are applying for is in Madera County, many of our dairies that belong to this cluster are in Merced County, but I will be sharing the one that is also located within Madera. So this is Rockshire Dairy, owned by Rocky Dieger. And then we have Red Rock by Rocky Jr. And then we have Trost Dairy. Jeff Trost, actually a city council member in Madera County. And he has a digester in place. We did not apply for a CDFA grant because he already had a different type of CDFA grant. So that's where we worked with him, but we didn't have a grant for that project. But he is also located within Madera County. Now, what Moss Energy Works proposing to build? As I mentioned, Double DJ Dairy, owned by Edgar Dieger here in Madera County, will be an extension to the existing Merced Dairy Digester Pipeline project. And each dairy has a digester in place, and then they pipeline all of that gas back through a low pressure pipeline all the way back to one singular location, which is at our Merced Pipeline Hub. That's where all the gas is collected and it's scrubbed from raw gas to natural gas and then injected into a pipeline. So that's located at a dairy. And so we have, I believe, 13 dairies a part of this cluster. There's an additional one actually going online right now. Tros went online a few months back. So this would be our second project to go online in Madera County. Here's another close-up. So in his situation, I mentioned this earlier, he would be using an existing pond. We just work with, depending on what their water storage availability is, if we need to build a new pond or not. But he's an easy to spot dairy right off of the 99. And a fantastic one to work with. And we work with many of his family as well. So a great family to work with. So as I mentioned, we're going to be using an existing pond, but we will clean out that pond because we need to line it. The water board requires us to line those ponds to make sure there's no leakage into groundwater, and there's numerous tests to do so before that project can go online. We cannot proceed without making sure that there is no leaks in that liner. Then we will cover that lagoon with the same material, and it's ready to start putting in manure water and producing methane gas. And so it will, the methane gas will be taken out, and there will be a very minimal equipment there at the dairy, but most of the cleanup equipment, as mentioned, will be at the hub. So what are the potential impacts of these proposed projects, of this proposed project? As I mentioned, these projects are pretty expensive. They run $6 to $10 million each. 4 or 5 years ago, we were sitting at 2 to 4. But obviously with, inflation and everything, these projects have raised quite a bit and expensive. So that's why these grants, again, are so crucial. Some of the expenses include excavation, earthwork, welding, general construction, concrete, electrical, pipe fitting, and all project contractors have a minimum local hiring requirement. Some potential project impacts economically include local job creation, of course, the support to agriculture, environmentally, greenhouse gas reductions, odor control, and protecting water quality, amongst others. Potential project impacts when it comes, there are some potential negative impacts. We make it a priority because most of these impacts could affect the neighbors of the project. So we try to work very hands-on with the neighbors of these projects and also reach out to many of the residents of Madera County. We've already gotten a few letters of support from Madera residents. So that's who we try to focus on too, outside of elected officials, county departments, and so forth. So some potential negative impacts include increased noise from construction and increased traffic during construction. But again, a lot of these dairies are pretty isolated, so that's just in a very condensed area. Also, some of the impacts is what we do here in the community. Outside of producer relations, I do a lot of the community impact stuff. So we try to offer tours to local colleges. We've done a lot with Merced County. We've done tours with FFA chapters. We're actually working on a legislative tour, which unfortunately had to cancel the one for Merced Madera because of the bird flu that is going around dairies right now that is hugely impacting many of our dairy farms. So we are trying to be minimal presence on the dairies right now as they're going through that and just do what we need to do on each site. But we also offer college intern opportunities. We've had operation interns, safety interns, and many intern availabilities up in Reading. But we also have kind of said, like, if there's someone that comes to us with interest, we are always happy to offer them an internship in some capacity. And a lot of times we'll work with local JCs and stuff like that to get that set up. And then finally, some mitigation efforts that we wanted to include. So obviously we make sure many of these things to make sure we are staying within regulation, not just us and our company, but also our dairymen. So we do the Madera County CEQA reviews. We do an air permit through San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District for a hub. So many of those things we make sure to stay in compliance with Air Board, Water Board, and county departments, state departments, all in that. Finally, I just want to say thank you again. It's really cool. I mean, obviously, I've done these presentations several times in Kings and Tulare, and it's great to finally get to do it in Madera and to work with a new county. I really pushed to do this presentation because I know how positively, like, yes, we are a company, but we are environmentally impacting you guys, economically impacting you guys. And we also just want to be a part of the community and offer opportunities for this community, like I said, through forms of tours or internships. we just want to try to take any opportunity we can to get involved. That's something as a company and personally that we're really, really passionate about. I want to mention we do, outside of the letter that you guys might discuss today, I also have for the people that are here in the audience, drafted letters of support for those that have been in attendance. If you are interested and passionate about these issues as a resident or a community, as a company, we do have those available, and we'll be around for the duration of the meeting to take any questions or comments you may have. All right, thank you.
Yes, thank you for the, wow, okay. Wow, you were really good. So I just wanted to say, great presentation, and I just wanted to comment on this one slide. You had potential impacts, and then you had a picture of Bass Lake. So
I
didn't notice that. I know it was. I just thought it was kind of.
I noticed that too, and I was wondering why my coworker put that in, but we're rolling with it. It's a pretty beautiful picture,
I
and
feel it's so peaceful. I
It
know
is
I was just
be peaceful.
I
All
was-
those cows up there.
I was getting all this anxiety over these potential impacts, and I saw a picture of Bath Lake.
That was her intention.
It was
that
like
fully her.
It was like the Nestea plunge. So very good. All right. Any comments from my colleagues? Surprisingly, Supervisor Rogers. wanted to
Yeah,
say
all the
something.
dairies are in my district. So,
Yes, as I know.
yeah, and everybody you mentioned there are close friends of mine, so that's interesting. But one of the things that is really important to dairies right now is their nutrient management programs. How does this affect that?
So many of the we actually don't. How do I put this? The best way to put it is that most of the manure going in is the same type of manure going out. We're improving the water quality on it, so it's better for spreading over the fields. We do work with the nutrient management plan. We do also work with whoever their environmental consultants are. So we do work with that, but we don't heavily impact when it comes to the quality. If anything, we just improve the quality of their manure and what they're spreading on their fields. And again, we work closely with their environmental consultants, but as far as like the nitrate levels and stuff like that, we don't impact that as well. We've been talked to a lot of companies about improving stuff on the after the manure leaves the digester, but not ones that we've decided on yet.
Okay, if your company can figure out something on that, I guarantee you'll make big money. It'll be a big business, because what right now the biggest problem is that the Groundwater Sustainability Act is directly conflicting with their nutrient management program. It reduces the amount of water they can use to dispense the nitrates. So they naturally they can't grow crops if they don't have the water to do that. They can't get rid of the nitrates if they can't grow crops. So it's in conflict. But I appreciate the program and what it means to the dairymen.
Thank you so much.
Very good. Any other comments from my colleagues? Are there any members? Yes.
I have a question. Thank you for the presentation. I'm just curious, on your economic impact. I'm curious how many jobs are created and what's the duration? I'm just curious.
So we try to work with, again, as many local contractors as possible. We are the general contractor in those positions, but a lot of those list of project expenses that I mentioned, let me try to go back. One moment. Now I'm going too far. So like the excavation, earthwork, welding, general construction, we try to find a lot of the local. So we put it out for bid for any of the local contractors to come and do that. So that, and like I said, all projects have a minimum local hiring requirement. So we bid it out to anybody that is local. So I don't have an exact number, but I would be curious to maybe get that number for you from maybe the Trost dairy that we already constructed. But that's a really good question. But I do know that, again, we try to open it up to anybody, local contractors within the county. And then those contractors have a local hiring requirement. So, and then
the duration of
the duration of the project, typically the duration is depending on rain and those kind of things and when the construction is taking place. But in its entirety, it typically takes 2 years to construct the project, and that includes all the permitting and everything process as well. Typically, construction itself can last anywhere from 6 to 10 months. But again, it just kind of depends on the weather and everything and when we're constructing those projects. So right now, Mr. Dieger's in the process of permitting. So he hasn't gotten to the construction portion yet.
Thank you.
By the way, an important thing to note on your application for Mr. Dieger would be that the city of Chowchilla has struggled for years with the odor from the dairy. It's been a problem, I think this will be a big solution for that.
Okay, that's good to know. I'll share that with my permitting
Yeah,
department.
and you'll probably get the entire city council to back that.
Yes, and one of them is Jeff Trost, who
Yeah,
is a dairyman we work with. So he's gotten to kind of see that hands-on, which has been great.
I don't
So,
think you'd have a problem getting all the city council.
yeah, that's good. And I hope to go and speak to those I've talked to Jeff as well about potentially going and speaking at Chowchilla City Council, which we do. Sometimes we are required to go to like kind of public hearings for public comment with these departments and city councils.
All right, very good. Are there any members of the public who have a comment regarding this item? Anybody online?
None online?
Seeing and hearing none, we'll bring the item back for action.
I move to approve a letter of support from organization.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Wamha?
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Supervisor McCauley?
Yes.
Chairman Poitras?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Very good. Thank you. Let's move on to item 6G.
6G, Behavioral Health Services Department, discussion and consideration of entering into an amendment on Madera County contract number 12799-24 with BHAI Investments, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $3,827,387.50 for the lease of real property for Casa Grande Hotel and one standalone office for fiscal year 2024-2027 and authorize the chairman to sign.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Aaron Garcia, Fiscal Manager of Behavioral Health Services. What we bring before you today is an amendment to an existing contract with Buy Investments for a space lease agreement with Casa Grande Motel. We are wanting to make two amendments to the agreement. The first would be the language of the deposit, remove the language of a deposit and add the language to pay the final payment in advance. And this would help with building improvements to meet the needs of our bridge housing participants. The second would be to add a budget line item of $15,000. This would be for room repairs that may exceed or go above and beyond the normal wear and tear that the participants may contribute to the room being damaged. This is all being funded by Bridge Housing and MHSA funds, so there's no impact to the general fund. So I'm here for any questions.
Very good. Thank you. Are there any questions regarding this item? Are there any members of the public who have a comment? Seeing and hearing none, I'll bring the item back for action.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Supervisor McCauley?
Yes.
Supervisor Wamha?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Chairman Poitras?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Very good. Thank you. Nice presentation. 6H.
Human Resources Department, Clerk of the Board, discussion and consideration to adopt a resolution adjusting salary step placement for Karen Scribner, Chief Clerk to the Board of Supervisors, effective September 1st, 2024.
Yes, good morning, Chairman and members of the board. Sabrina Mendez, Department of Human Resources. So Madera County has recently been made aware that the 3% confidential pay provided to the Chief Clerk of the Board, Karen Scribner, cannot be considered pensionable compensation as it is not a rank and file position. So it is recommended the confidential pay be removed. And in order to mitigate any negative impact to Ms. Scribner, that her salary step be adjusted just by one step. And I'm available for any questions.
Very good. Are there any questions?
Move to approve.
Are there any members of the public who have a comment regarding this item?
No
Anybody
comments
online?
online.
Okay, very good. We have a motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Supervisor Wamha?
Yes.
Supervisor McCauley?
Yes.
Chairman Poitras?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Very good. Thank you. And item 6I.
6I, Human Resources Department, discussion and consideration to adopt the letter of agreement with mid-management bargaining units regarding implementation of negotiated items related to the classification and compensation study effective October 21st, 2024.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any members of the public who have a comment regarding this item? Seeing and hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Wamhaugh?
Yes.
Supervisor McCully?
Yes.
Chairman Poitras?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you. And item 6J.
Human Resources Department, discussion and consideration of approval to set salary range and FLSA designation for classifications within the mid-management bargaining unit as recommended by Civil Service Commission effective October 1st, 2024.
Move to approve. October 21st.
October 21st, 2024.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any members of the public who have a comment regarding this item? Seeing and hearing none, we'll bring roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Supervisor Wamhaugh?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor McCully?
Yes.
Chairman Poitras?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 6K.
Office of Information Technology, discussion and consideration of entering into an agreement with Converge One, Inc. in the amount of $2,926,142 for voice over network protocol services for fiscal year 2024-2029 and authorize the chairman to sign.
Good morning, Chairman of the Board, members of the board, Tanya Say, Chief Information Officer. The item before you today is for consideration is a 60-month contract for VoIP phone services with Converge One. Originally, we had a contract that was signed July 9th, 2019, and that agreement is now expiring. The new agreement provides for 60 months of VoIP services and support. In addition, in terms of cost, the total cost of the 60-month agreement, the new agreement, is going to result in a savings of $1,175,000. Actually, no, I'm sorry, I have that wrong. The proposed agreement will save the county $1,168,563. The current agreement for the 60-month period will be a total of $2,926,142. And that is for the first 1,175 users. I'm available for any questions.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Are there any questions regarding this item? Seeing and hearing none, are there any members of the public that have a comment?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor McCully?
Yes.
Supervisor Wamhaugh?
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Chairman Poitras?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Love saving that kind of money. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 6L.
Veteran Services Department, discussion and consideration to adopt a resolution in support of Operation Greenlight for veterans converting municipal lighting to green in honor of our nation's veterans from November 4th through November 11th, 2024.
Good morning, Chairman and Board. Josh cannot be here today. He's at some mandated Veteran Service Officer training out of town. So Edmund will be bringing this item for you. As you're aware, we've done this at least 2 previous years in a row. This is a program that was started by the National Association of Counties. Frankly, I think our building looks better than all the other buildings that appear in their photo shoots, but maybe I'm biased, but it looks really good. We're bringing it now because if we were going to bring it in November, the week would have already passed. So we'd like to get your consideration now so we can make arrangements for the maintenance staff that you just awarded to get up there and cover every little light with a green hood. I'm available for any questions.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions for Jay?
I have one request. If it's possible, can we have some informational items on our display, because there are going to be a lot of folks coming in to vote and they're going to be questioning why it's green, and
Sure.
just to kind of help.
I think to alleviate that, we'll pull up, I've got some really nice photos from last year and we'll build a slide and
To
15
share.
will put it on the slides.
And then make sure that
Great.
we notify our elections office that
Thank goodness it's green, right? And not red or blue. So
And with that, I'll move to approve.
Move to approve. Oh, yeah, second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any members of the public that have a comment regarding this item?
None online?
Chairman, I just have a quick question,
Mm-hmm.
for Jay. And so are we just doing it on this building, or is there a possibility we might be able to do it at the new Oakhurst office as well?
we only considered doing it on this building this year just because we already have the equipment to do it. I'm not familiar with the lighting at the Oakhurst Government Center, but I can talk to the staff, see if that's an easy fix, and we'll get that done if it's something that's cost minimal.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Very good, thank you. And by the way, I believe there is a political party that uses green, but they don't have any major candidates on the ballot. So we have a motion and a second. Nobody online. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Wampa?
Yes.
Supervisor McCauley?
Yes.
Chairman Poitras?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Very good, thank you. Item 6M.
Board of Directors, Special Districts, Maintenance District Number 10A, Madera Ranchos, Public Works Department, Engineering Services Division, MD 10A, Madera Ranchos Water System Improvement Project, Phase 1, discussion and consideration of entering an agreement with Ralph Construction, Inc. in the amount of $3,577,939 for the MD 10A Madera Ranchos Water Distribution System Improvement Project, Phase 1, and authorize the chairman to sign. Discussion and consideration of approval to authorize the Chief of Development Services or designee to issue a notice to proceed. Discussion and consideration of approval to authorize the auditor controller to issue payments for contingencies up to 10% of the contract award amount for established county policy. Discussion and consideration of approval to authorize the Chief of Development Services or designee to solely issue and approve contract change orders in accordance with Public Contract Code not to exceed authorized contingencies.
Good afternoon, Chairman, members of the board, Jared with Public Works. As mentioned, this item here is for award of a contract for Phase 1 of water system improvements out in Madera Ranchos MD 10A. We did have a short presentation here to go through just to kind of give background and a little bit bigger picture of the overall happenings out in MD 10A. So with that, I'll get into the presentation here. So Madera Ranchos MD 10A is out in the southeast portion of Madera County. You can see there on the map that red outline essentially is MD 10A boundary with the smaller internal area as the actual service area of the water system. A little bit of history on this maintenance district. It is the largest water district we have in the county. It was created in 1964. In 95, the state came to the county to take over the water system due to mismanagement. So at that time, the county essentially inherited this system, 30-year-old system, which was in pretty significant disrepair at the time and has only gotten worse since then. There's approximately 948 residential and 30 commercial connections that are served at this point, with an additional approximately 330 to be served in outer areas outside the service area. There's currently 4 active wells producing for the system. The 5th well, Kensington, is offline due to manganese, which we're working to get that back online. So overall, about 2,900 gallons per minute produced by the 4 wells that are online at this time. Kensington produces about 400 gallons a minute. Once that comes back online, that'll bump up that number. So again, here's just a overall map of the district boundary. You can see there in red, and then the internal shaded area is the actual service area. Down on the left, you can see Valley Teen Ranch, which was part of the consolidation project, which I'll mention in just a second. So some of the projects that have been happening out there, we did rehab 2 wells out there using state grant funds. We were able to rehab the Charlton well and bring that back online, which had been offline through some work to clean and scrub that. We also did the same for a new Fender well and was able to increase the production of that well from 600 to 1,000 GPM. One big thing we did as part of that project was, or both of these wells, is to convert them to the vertical turbine pumps, which are above ground, so they're easier to do the maintenance and repair when we need to get in there and do some stuff with that. So both of these were done in 2022 and have been online since. So here's just kind of a map showing the location. The lower left, you can see the new Fender well, kind of in the southwest area of the district. And then directly north of there is the Charlton well. The other project that happened and is wrapping up or has wrapped up is the consolidation project, which brought the Golden Valley Unified School District and Valley Teen Ranch water systems together with MD10A. That was again a grant funded project, a little over $6 million from the state. Included about 3 miles of pipeline to connect those two areas to the district, along with a new well at Berkshire, which produces up to 1,000 gallons per minute. So a very high producing well for the district and a much needed source to add to the system. So you can see here on the map, the purple area that was represents the pipelines that were installed to make the connections for Golden Valley and Valley Teen, and then also the Berkshire well side. I guess I could use this pointer if you can see it, but Berkshire, which is essentially right next door to the county library. Here's a picture of the Berkshire well site as it sits today. So the well and the equipment there to run that system. It does look unfinished because it is unfinished because there's the phase 2 of that project, which is this project, the treatment project. And that project will create or construct a 1,600 gallon per minute water treatment system that will be on that same site. That treatment system is funded by grant funds from the state, and it will treat, it's sized to treat the Kensington well, which is currently offline for manganese, as I mentioned, and also Berkshire well for manganese in the event we need to do that treatment. So that is targeted to be completed about middle of next year. So there's a photo of the vessels that are at the site right now waiting to be installed. And then that project did also include the dedicated line from the Kensington well to the Berkshire site so that we can get that water there to treat it and then push it back out into the system. Another project that's been underway, the storage tank at the Dublin site. So it's a 1 million gallon water storage tank with booster pumps to feed the system. Again, this was funded by grant funds from the state. The tank at that site was actually the original plan for the Dublin well site included 2 tanks. So this is one of those 2 tanks that's being installed. The other area was used for solar. And this project is on track to be completed early next year. It's pretty well wrapped up. We're waiting for some electrical equipment to get that finalized and finish that off. So there's a picture of the storage tank that's been constructed in the site, paved. So the project we're here today for is the phase 1 of water main replacement. As I mentioned, the system out there is severely deteriorated, well beyond its useful life. You probably know and hear all the time about our crews having to be out there making repairs and all hours of the night, all days of the week, year, month. So this project is proposed to start construction next month. This is a project that came to your board for ARPA funding, which we are thankful for, allowed us to move this project forward, as well as utilizing some of the district funds to help complete all the alternates on this project. As it was mentioned or shows in the board letter, there was a main bid for this, and then we had 4 alternates that we were contemplating doing depending on what the price came in at. And the good news is the price came in at reasonable, and we were able to scrape up enough money from different couches and get enough together to do this project. So the overall cost is about 4.4 million. That includes the contingency and the construction management costs. The project will install about replace about 2.47 miles of pipe. And I say replace, we are replacing water mains that are running in the backyards of houses out there today and moving them out into the road right away so that we have access and better ability to manage that system, avoid a lot of problems that way. So target completion is July of 2025, pending, obviously unforeseen issues and weather. So this map just kind of gives an idea of where we're going to be doing the work for this phase. You can see those green marked roads. We basically work with our maintenance and operations team to identify the most critical sections that need to be replaced at this point. We're basically where they have the most problems right now, to tackle those first, and then move forward with other sections as we're able to with funding as it becomes available. So in terms of future improvements, as I mentioned, the goal is to continue replacing the deteriorated and outdated system out there. There's approximately 13.7 miles of pipe that needs to be replaced. In addition to that, we're looking at another 11.5 miles to extend those mains out into those areas beyond where the service area is right now within MD10A, which will allow connection of other parcels. We're also looking to have water meters installed for all the connections within the district. And then one of the items that was just approved earlier was a budget adjustment to allow us to complete the acquisition of a parcel out there for a future well. So we'll have that site available to look at possible new source for the system. We are seeking additional federal funding through a couple different avenues, about $35 million. Some of that we're not completely sure on how that's going to pan out at this point, but we're hopeful that we can get some more money to continue with the replacements. And then in terms of state funding, we're not really sure on that at this point. There's a lot of changes that are happening. I mean, the state's running out of money for one thing, but the intended use plan for the Division of Financial Assistance and how they spend their money, that changes every year. So we have this project identified in the plan for $2.7 million. However, there's some things that have changed with the intended use plan that may limit or decrease that amount. And we're trying to find out what that looks like to see what we can do for the next round of work out there. So, so in conclusion, our recommendation is to approve the award of the contract to Roll Construction and authorize the Chief of Development Services to issue notice to proceed, approve the 10% contingency, and also ability to issue change orders. I'm available for any questions.
Very good. Thank you. Great presentation. This is the best and most comprehensive presentation that I've seen for 10A in the 8 years I've been on this board. It's mainly been this little, oh, we're going to do this project or we're going to do this, but tying it all together, this is the first time I've had a complete picture. So thank you very much. Any comments from my colleagues?
I have a question.
Yes.
The logistics when you're moving from the rear of the property to the front of the property, are you getting, people are putting connections at the front of the house, in other words, to the plumbing, and you're coming down and out to the street, so you're abandoning the lines to the back, correct?
So in any case where we can do that, we will.
Yeah.
But as you mentioned, the connections are in the back. So if there's not the ability to make a connection at the front of the house from the street side, then we'll still have to run that service line to the backyard.
So like run it around, but it comes from
around or under. A lot of it's going to be directionally drilled.
Yeah.
So, we're trying to
Well, that's
avoid
good.
impacting, landscaping, driveways, all that sort of
Sure.
stuff. Obviously, people have a lot of stuff out there. So
that is a logistical nightmare.
yeah, no, it's going to be a challenge for sure. It's going to be a challenge for sure. But I mean, we, good or bad, maybe depending how you look at it. Our maintenance guys know that place out there like the back of their hand. So they'll be directly involved with how we approach each of these connections and make sure that we're, doing the best we can to give them the
Sure, a lot of
service.
those old lines are all rusted out anyway. I mean, they're old iron pipe probably.
Yep, they're like Swiss cheese.
Yeah.
We got
it's
lots of
just,
pictures and
Time to get rid of them.
yep.
That's good. Glad to see the efficiency in there.
Supervisor?
Yeah, Jared, I just want to thank you and your staff for putting this together. Just like the chairman said, this is a very comprehensive report, and I'm going to share this with the residents of the ranchos as well, because I think a lot of the people who are on this water system don't know nearly this much information about their own water system. So thank you for that. And I also want to thank my colleagues for approving the $3.7 million in ARPA funds to go to this project as well. There's a lot of staff time that gets, in the middle of the night when these blowouts happen with these old rusty iron pipes, and they're digging in the middle of the night, flooding everywhere. And so this is a big step in the right direction. Hopefully we can bring it home with some federal and state funds to finish off this project. We know as time goes on that the cost of these projects only go up. So the sooner we can secure that, the better. But I wanted to thank you and all of your staff. And please tell the people who are actually in the field, thank you for all the hard work they do too.
Yeah, most certainly we will, Supervisor. And just maybe to add to some of your comments about the residents, I mean, there is a lot going out there. And I would say, first off, we appreciate that the residents are I guess forgiving of all the work that's happening. Obviously, this work is going to be some impacts to, roadways and inconveniences for a little while. And, like I always say, it gets worse before it gets better. So, we appreciate that they're, willing to work with us on that. I would also say that, there's a lot of these projects that are grant funded that the state has come with funding. And that is, there's a piece of the residents and their, commitment to rates and having the rates in place and the finances to run and operate the system that is a key component to being able to get those grant funds. So when we go for grant fundings, one of the things that the state looks at is, do you have the financial structure in place to be able to maintain and operate the system once it's done? So that's something that we have to prove to them and show them when we get that grant funding. So again, with this system being a larger system, obviously there's some economies of scale, but nonetheless, they've had several rate increases and adjustments over the years to keep themselves, in the positive, in terms of funding. And so that goes a long way when you're going for those grant funds and different opportunities at state and federal level.
And I would like to add a comment just for the residents, because I'm going to clip this and I'm going to share this with them as well. But just like you said, it gets worse before it gets better. These are construction projects around your home. We're going to be drilling, we're running lines, new lines. There's landscaping, there's concrete, there's trees, there's flowers, and all these different things. So please be patient with your county staff, and just realize that we'll do it to the absolute best of our ability, but please be patient with them.
Chair, I'll be real quick. Just want to build off some of those comments. One, if this wasn't enough, you guys have dozens, if not, nearly 100 other, maintenance districts out there. So, you guys just finished up a project in Indian Lakes. We've got a project going out in Hidden Lakes. We're doing some major efforts with community in Sumner Hills. So the list just continues to go on and on. So it's not just this that I want to thank you guys for. I want to thank you for all the work that you're doing throughout the county. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. I just have a question regarding the 300 and some homes that are within the district that still have to have pipeline and so forth. Now, do the homes themselves, do the homeowners pay for the connections and the cost of the pipeline going through like a developer would?
So they do pay for a connection fee if and when they do connect to the system. What we're trying to accomplish here is to get those mains in the roads pushed out into all those areas using grant funds,
Right.
so that that's available for them to connect to, because we do have homes out there that have dry wells that are on, water tanks and not able to, either drill a well or waiting to connect to the system. Unfortunately, we have the project design already. it's ready to go. We thought we had money coming from the state, and that kind of just went downhill very fast. But it was upwards of like a $70 million project to push all that infrastructure further out. So, really what we're trying to do is finish a project that was started in 1964, right? Which is build that thing out to that whole area. It's going to be super expensive. It's going to take a lot of work, but we're close to having, I mean, again, we have it pretty much designed and ready to go. We just need to get the funding to do it.
Very good.
I want to make
Yes.
one more quick comment. I want to congratulate Jordan Wamhoff, the supervisor of that district, on something I've seen just had problems since I've been on the Board of Supervisors for 16 years. And he's taken it on and pretty much making this thing come to fruition that's needed to come to fruition for a long, long time. And I want to congratulate him on that for pushing that along and making that happen. So I think that's important for his residents to know that he's put that kind of energy into this project.
Thank you. Staff made it happen, not me.
All right, very good. Any other comments, thoughts? Any members of the public have? Yes, come on up.
Hi, Jennifer Van Allen. This is a simple question, and I'm sure you all know it. I'm just curious. How deep are those 5 wells, and where's the water level at on them? I mean, you're pouring a lot of money into this project, which is really needed, obviously. But
Supervisor? You don't know?
Well, at 2,900 gallons per minute with 5 wells, we're going to do
No,
some math here with Jared.
well,
You know,
I mean, you don't want to pour money into a dry hole, obviously.
Oh, absolutely.
But
Jared behind you, he has that information. I hope so.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have the exact answer on that, but I could definitely get you that. But I will say that these wells are drilled quite deep. I mean, they're typically much deeper than a residential type well, so they're in water pretty significantly. I would certainly hope they're not going to go dry anytime soon because we are putting a lot of money into this. But yeah, no, they're they're producing, like you mentioned, Supervisor, they're producing pretty significant numbers in terms of water. So, but we can definitely get the exact depth of those wells and where the water level looks out there.
Well, I think the comment was spurred by a concern about surrounding wells, water table, that type of thing. Could you speak to maybe water usage from a domestic standpoint versus an ag standpoint? Or maybe that's a more of another question.
Yeah, I mean, I that's probably more of a Stephanie question, to be honest with you. But I mean, essentially, what we understand and what we know is that use from residential and domestic is typically much less than ag. I don't have the exact differential on that. But
you have a state average. You have a state average that tells you 95% of the
about
water.
3% is.
Yeah, it's only 3%
for domestic uses.
Yeah.
Sure. But kind of to maybe speak to that point, like part of the reason and what the goal of here is to get, these mains pushed out is so that we can get rid of all those individual wells that are out there. I mean, we have, hundreds of individual wells out there pulling, instead of, maybe 6 or 8 large producing, community wells. So that should help the situation out there significantly.
Well, you've got almost 3,000 gallons per minute from 4 wells, and that would be like 3 really top producing ag wells. So if you want to compare that for
there's from the
everybody
horse's
out
mouth.
there.
Right. Good job.
Yeah. So
exactly.
So, and I understand the water's a little warm coming out of the ground, so you're really going deep. No, I'm teasing, but no, that's great. Any other comments? Thank you, Jennifer, class of 74. All right, we just had a reunion. All right, I'll bring it back to the
And
board
I
for
will
action.
move to approve this item.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Wamhoff?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Supervisor McCauley?
Yes.
Chairman Poitras.
Yes,
Vote passes 5-0.
very good. Thank you. We'll move on to item 9A.
County Administration Department discussion and consideration to ratify a letter of support for the Railroad Crossing Elimination Grant Program application for the Cleveland Country Club intersection, Madera, California.
Good afternoon, Chairman and Board. This letter was submitted on the 17th of September at the request of the City of Madera to back up a planning grant that they're trying to get to fix how the Union Pacific right-of-way interacts with all of downtown Madera mostly. So this letter was sent over to them for them to include in their application package. And it's here today for ratification.
Very good. Any questions regarding this letter? This is much needed.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any members of the public who have a comment regarding this letter? Hearing and seeing none, I'll bring the item back for a vote. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor McCauley?
Yes.
Supervisor Wamhaugh?
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Chairman Poitras?
Yes,
Vote passes 5-0.
thank you. We'll move on to supervisor and staff reports. This time I'll start to my left. Supervisor Rogers, anything you'd like to report out?
Nothing to report.
Okay. Supervisor McCauley.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a couple things I want to report. First and foremost, very happy to announce that we will be opening a new park in Madera County. It'll be the Wildwood Recreational Park on the border of Fresno and Madera, right there off of 41. So very happy about that. Also, I'm happy to announce that we had a groundbreaking ceremony for the State Center Community College Oakhurst campus last Friday. So very happy to see that moving along. Of course, lots of great community events have been going on over the last couple of weeks, which really enjoyed taking part in. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Supervisor Gonzalez.
Thank you. The Madera County Public Health Department, in collaboration with the Madera Unified School District, is hosting a number of walk to school days. There's one tomorrow at Sierra Vista School that I'll be participating in 6:30 in the morning. And so folks are invited to participate. Also, there's going to be a check presentation to the food bank tomorrow afternoon from Assemblywoman Soria's office, who was able to secure $500,000 for the project. So we're very excited about that. And then I just want to thank our CAO, Jay Varney, and former supervisor, Frazier, who sat with me yesterday for interviews for new chief of staff. And hopefully we will have somebody onboarded in November. And I particularly want to thank Melissa De Silva for her help doing all the coordinating and paperwork and all the tedious stuff. So thank you very much for that. I'm excited to bring somebody to the team. So that is my report.
Very good. Thank you. Supervisor Wamhoff.
Yes, last Thursday, October 10th, I was at Madera Community College for their president, Angel Reyna. Had a discussion and brought a delegation in from Mexico with different distilleries. And basically, throughout the day, he provided his vision for this agave program that he wants at the school, essentially like a wine trail, but with spirits that they develop a distillery program at the school. So students will learn not just about distilling, but the planting of agave, the uses for it, the biomass, the distillery, but also potentially having a hotel, restaurant, bar that the students actually run, which I think would be pretty cool. But he's a real visionary kind of guy, and puts his foot on the gas and goes 100 miles an hour. So we're pretty excited to see what the results of that are. But that lasted, I was there for, gosh, all day and all the way up until about 7 p.m. So, but it was a good experience, and I'm excited for, the potential that we can have right here in District 1, D1.
Along with all the corroding pipes.
We're changing that, guys. Thank you.
All right, very good. CEO Varney.
Perhaps the agave will stop that corrosion. I don't know. I have nothing further to report. Thank you.
Council.
Chair, members of the board, on October 2nd through the 4th, I went to the County Council Association where the 58 county councils get together, their annual meeting. It's something that is not at a cost to the county. It was in Santa Barbara, so just making note of that. I got to participate and collaborate. We talked about unfunded state mandates. So essentially, if the state sends down, for example, a mandate and doesn't send down the funding, there's some efforts to try to appeal those decisions a bit more and remind the state that there's a constitutional requirement to fund some of their mandates. There was also a presentation, for example, on artificial intelligence and how that is becoming more common in the county. Actually, our county is working on a policy to stay on top of the use of artificial intelligence, and was just happy to attend that. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Yeah, those are definitely top drawer topics these days. So thank you. Clerk of the board.
Nothing to report. Thank you.
Very good. And with that, we shall adjourn. Thank you.